Hello, everyone. It's Sunday afternoon, hopefully in an hour or so. I'll be seeing some of you on the Sunday night Zoom meeting, office hours. Today is October 1st, and hopefully you turned in a second reflection paper sometime yesterday or the day before, and we'll get our comments back to you by next Wednesday. So we're about to start week 4, and the theme for this week 4 is experience near characterizing. And there'll be a reflection paper due this next Friday or Saturday. And then I'm arranging with Matt and Suzanne to shift from a Tuesday night office hours that they hold to a regular Sunday night. We're still trying to figure out what the times would be. And I'm wondering if a 6 to 9 feels like it'd be okay, Eastern time. And we would and that would be optional without any expectations that people attend, except for mandatory Sunday evening meetings once every 6 weeks or so, and I should be able to get that calendar out to you. I'm looking at November 19th as the next mandatory Sunday. There won't be any office hours on October 15th. We have our big annual workshop that day. Okay, so I sent the reading for this week. I put it in the Google folder and updated the reading assignment list in that same folder, but I also sent it to you as an attachment in a previous email. So experience near characterizing. And when I think of that, I think about the importance of staying close to the language and the words that people are using that we're talking with. And helping them find words words and phrasing and descriptions that really they determine fits best with what they're trying to describe. And there's lots of ways I could have introduced this, but one way I thought I would, because I was just talking to my daughter this morning, we had a intentional conversation about her college essay, which she's experiencing an opening for stress to get a hold of her. And I'm sure the stress is connected to stories of all sorts of stories that are not very kind to her. So I thought I got her permission to kind of retell the conversation or summarize the conversation. And I might pause to to highlight where I see some of this experience near characterizing happening. I first asked her to help me understand why she was okay with having this essay or having this conversation about her essay. And she said because it's important to her to get into college, and that it's interesting. She said that she's okay with getting rejected if the college is rejecting her because they don't feel like she's a good fit or the values that they share match her values. And she thought, in her words, that meant speaking or writing an essay that was what she called true to herself. And that this conversation might help her get more clarity about what she meant by true to herself. And we talked about how the prompt for the essay encouraged her to reflect on kind of what they described as eye-opening moments or shifts, and how they're connected to something important. So very vague and broad. And she also said that she wanted this conversation not only to help her with her intention to be true to herself in the essay, but also so that she could write something that she felt proud about too. So then she started with this question of not knowing whether she should write in a funny way, a serious way, or a metaphor. And I asked her to find, I asked her for words that would describe for her what that question is about. If it's getting her to wonder whether she'd write funny or serious or in some other ways. And she said she would call that the writing style. So I didn't introduce those words as the question that brought those words forward. And then I talked about, I asked questions about what she thought about these eye-opening moments and what she thought the purpose of that was. And she said that, they're supposed to be events that help reveal who she is. And then I asked if she had any already thoughts about some events that might qualify as possible candidates for events that could reveal who she is. And she said that there were a lot of events, but that it was like one story that came to mind for her, something somebody had told her, or grandmother or me, about something that had to do with her. And she didn't want an event to be one that what somebody else had told her. It was one that she wanted to actually remember on her own. So again, she finds the language of the significance of not just any event, but events where they're ones that she remembers for herself. So then I said, do you think that you could, are any events come to mind that you could remember yourself that could be candidates for this possible eye-opening event? And it was interesting to watch because she does have a relationship with anxiety, and she didn't say this, but I was noted she couldn't think. She was like, I can't think of any. And so I had to scaffold things down so she could find words. And so my response was, well, how about just in the last year? Are there any events that might qualify as candidates that you remember as significant? And then she was immediately able to say, Ashley getting diagnosed with an illness, but that wasn't one she really wanted to talk about. She talked about this thing that happened at her horse barn that was pretty traumatic, and how she thought that revealed how she was loyal and resilient, but she also didn't want to talk about that one. Then she talked about this story of going to Florida last winter. And long story short, she had gone to Florida 2 years before and didn't think it would ever be possible for her to ride in such a special event. And that if she did, it would be, in her words, a million years away, and not until she was an adult, and then it wouldn't be the same. But this year when she went, she actually did ride. She got a ribbon. And she said this kind of revealed her as hardworking and dedicated and persevering, and how she's a person who seizes opportunities but then she said, those are overused words, and she thought that that would not be compelling to people writing the essay. So she said, in her words, I want to write about it in a different way. And she went on to say, I don't want to just write like I'm just another horse girl. And I asked her questions about that. And she said, because it's not just riding the horse that matters to me. And she talked about how the history of caring about going to ride has to do with also her enjoying helping out and learning new things and being with friends. And then I said, could you tell me some stories about those things? And she told stories about different things. So I'm going to jump over a bunch of stuff. And eventually I started to ask her questions about some of the, she told this story about how one of the things that attracted her initially to riding was being around older girls when she was little who thought she was funny, and who she admired them for being funny themselves, for having a close-knit group, and for being good at horseback riding. And then she told the story about how she was went to a camp there with these same older girls, and at the camp they were really nice to her. They thought she was little and cute and funny, but she also sort of said that at camp that, you know, she was learning how to do more than just ride. She was learning how to muck stalls and carry water and feed the hay and turn out the horses. And that one day at camp, the older girls picked her up by the arms and legs and threatened to throw her into the poop trailer. And everybody was laughing and having a good time. And she said the effects on that of her, in her words, that it made her feel good about herself, like she was special. And, you know, she really liked having people she admired so much seem to like her. And then I said, okay, so what are the names of these people to get, again, that experience near characterizing of stories. She talked about Tori and Shane and Simone and Sam and Hillary. And I said, you know, could we pick one of those who you feel like would have understood you in a way that you felt most recognized who you think you truly are? And she picked Hillary. And she talked about how I asked what did she think Hillary would say that struck her about Laurel, and she said Hillary would say that she loved horses so much and she always wanted to be there. She always wanted to work. She was nice, not bratty, that she was tough and determined around mucking the stalls and determined to push herself and wanting to. And she told the story about how Laurel, when she was like 9, asked Hillary, who was her instructor, to trot without a lead line. And Hillary said, no, you have to do this drill first by holding your hands on your hips without the reins while you're on lead line before I'll give you a chance to trot. And so Laurel determinedly did that and surprised Hillary in her ability to do that. And when Ashley showed up to watch, Ashley was worried that Laurel was doing something beyond what she imagined that she could do. So this is a story as Laurel's retelling it. And so then Laurel, in her own words, started to talk about how that she experienced herself as stubborn, but this was a stubbornness that was about being driven to do things even when you are told you can't. And that she said stubborn is a bad word, but that she likes it. And that she talked about it being so important to work for what you want, not just expect things to happen, and that she's committed to proving people that she's able to do more than the expectations, that she's eager to challenge herself and always want to keep moving forward. So she was worried about this being just too much connected to riding. So then I was able to say, can you tell me any other stories that would fit with you, you know, committed to taking opportunities and pushing yourself forward, and this kind of stubbornness that you like. And she talked about being the only girl on the flag football team at school. She told stories about, you know, refusing to wear a seatbelt in the car when she was really little. She talked about, then she talked about this stubbornness that had her determined to stay angry at me or her mom when she felt like we had done something unfair. And she talked about how that was about, I asked her some questions. She said that was about her sense that she had a right to her own perspective and wasn't just going to let go of it because to make somebody else happy or because they were uncomfortable. And so she talked about how that then was connected to the importance but she also wanted to, she cared about listening to people. So she talked about how one thing that she really values is listening, but reserving the right to come to her own conclusions. And then we talked about how women and girls are broadly encouraged to do that or discouraged to do that. So anyway, I hope there's something in the retelling of that you can see that I'm not introducing any new words. I'm just asking questions. Those are all her words. Now, Laurel's, got a lot of privilege that allows her to have had a lot of experiences to be able to reflect and think and have a lot of words. But if we stay close to people's words and we persevere with questions, and they're intentional ones around what people value or how they're in relationship with problems that they're not okay with, they always find more words. So it's more about the pace of what's possible than whether something is possible, in my mind. So I hope that helps in some way. This week, I'd just encourage you to stay close to people's words. And when they're using words, we could ask questions like, is that a word that you are coming up with on your own, or something that somebody else introduced to you? There was an example of that with Laurel, but I can't remember what it was. And but anytime you have a question about whether the person feels like that word is something that really resonates for them or not, we can inquire about that. Like, is that a word that they feel strongly about, or is there other words that they feel like would fit better with their experience of either a problem or a preference or a hope or a principle? So I hope that's helpful. I'm looking forward to reading the second round of reflection papers for my small group and peeking at the others, and hopefully seeing some of you soon. We can use tonight's Zoom meeting for questions about the course, as well as questions about skills and practice. All right, see you soon.